Stay tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Our guests, musician Alex Flores and actress Karen Kondazian, are in the studio, and they're ready to talk. Musician Alex Flores was born in Veracruz, Mexico, and lived in San Antonio, Texas, while his father, a doctor, was at the University of Texas. Alex was educated in the United States, in Mexico, and in France. He's currently living in Los Angeles and is the lead singer in the Tijuana Bibles. What kind of music is that, Alex?
We're playing mainly fusion of a lot of different styles, jazz, rock, like I was telling you, salsa. We put kind of like everything into this musical blender, and this comes a lot of, well, what it's called like fusion style. Fusion,
though, can be so many different things. When we were talking earlier, you talked about the Chicano groove or the Espanol. What is it?
Rock, yeah.
Rock Espanol.
Yeah, the rock in Espanol. There is like a distinction. Chicano groove is the label by which a lot of local bands are going, like bands like Quetzal or Quinto Sol. A lot of the bands that of musicians that have grown up here.
So it's all Chicano?
And they're Chicano, yeah.
It's all a Latin beat?
A lot of it is influenced by Afro-Cuban music.
Oh, both.
Yeah. And rock en Español is a little different. Rock en Español is more Latin American per se. It covers from the south of the United States all the way to Argentina. And you have bands that are, they have other type of influences and sound. It's more rock-oriented.
Are they called fusion as well?
No. Oh, that's mainly the Tijuana Bibles. We have that vibe. We'll be kind of like right in the middle of Chicano groove and rock en Español. I'm the only Mexican in the band.
I see. That's what's interesting.
Yeah, the rest of the guys are American. Yeah.
That's what's interesting. How many people in the band?
We're 5. Eva Gardner, she's a bass player. We have a girl bass player. David Green, the guitar player. Tony Lean was tenor saxophone. And Garrett Ray, he's the drummer.
What kind of music do you write? American, Spanish?
Both. We jam. And
Mexican?
I bring lyrics either in English and I'm in charge of the lyrics. I bring lyrics either in English or in Spanish, and the songs just kind of like develop by themselves.
Do you write with one member of the band, or do you write alone, or just 2 people? Or?
No. We pretty much develop the ideas on rehearsal, like during rehearsal.
Do you play an instrument?
I play a little percussion, a little piano, but I'm mainly a singer. That's what I've been all my life.
Did you study singing?
I've studied singing. I started not being just kind of like spontaneously, just by intuition. That's how I started singing, and then throughout my professional career, I've gotten lessons and studied more systematically.
When you were living in Mexico, you had a TV show, a radio show.
That's how I really started. I became so interested in music that I pitched some ideas for radio shows. So I had a radio show called Rock Ilegal, and then another radio show called Tocata, Fuga y Apañón.
Say it a little slower for me.
Tocata, Fuga y Apañón, which was censored, actually.
And why?
Why? Because we violated every federal law of communication there was.
But I mean, not because of lyrics or anything like that.
We were just kind of taking a lot of chances in terms of what we wanted to say and how we wanted to say it. And at that time, I don't know what is happening with Mexican radio right now, but at that time it was really regulated, and really you had to follow like a certain format.
Where was it?
And we were breaking all the rules.
What city?
In Veracruz.
Oh, it was in Veracruz.
Yeah. So that was interesting. And then I worked also on a TV show doing the news editorial.
You were a newsreader?
Yeah. Sort of.
Actually?
Yeah.
Did you go out on location and scout up news stories?
No. Actually, we just worked in the studio. It was just production level, and then they told me what to say and how to say it, or just to do some analysis and
But
reviews and stuff like that.
Before you ever were singing then?
Yeah.
You were doing all this. This was
Yeah.
kind of like the lead-in. You were interested in music, obviously, if you did this DJ type of show,
Yeah.
right? And did you ever think that you were going to be yourself on one of these shows?
I always wanted. I mean, when I lived in France, we had like a little folk music group. It was essentially Latin music. And that's how I kind of like started singing. But then I stopped, and then I had all those radio shows and TV shows and stuff. And every time that I was DJing, I was like, oh my God, I just need to do it. I just need to do it. I wanted to do it.
Really?
And then I just put a band together and just stopped doing that and started singing professionally.
So more fusion. You added a little bit of French to this mix?
No, I never did. I never did.
Did you? Why were you in France?
I was doing my last year of high school there.
Oh.
Just like
So
that.
did you pick up any of that language? Do you think that that's influenced you in any way with your writing?
I mean, I love the experience that I had there, and French is like a beautiful, beautiful language that I love. I've never I mean, of course, I learned the language and everything, but it's been more like something that I had as an experience, but it's never really like directly influenced my writing. In any
No,
way.
it has. You're doing a CD, or you're writing a CD, which you hope to release. And I saw some of the titles. Tell us the titles. It's that mix of both languages again. It's like
Exactly.
speaking Spanglish in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't it?
We have the first song is called Los Niños Bien. The second one is called Entropy Tango. And that one is in English. The third one,
Entropy.
yeah. The third one is called Carta, which is in Spanish also. The fourth one is called Eyes Are Slow.
Eyes
And-
are slow.
Yeah.
So
And,
it's is it all in English?
that
is it
song
not?
it is. That song it is.
But with a Latin beat? Or
No, not necessarily. Actually,
Oh.
that song was influenced. I was reading Camille Paglia at the time.
yes, Camellia Pond.
Yeah, I love her, and that song came out of her writing song.
Eyes.
She was doing some analysis on how nature, the whole of nature, was feminine, and it was this it has this incredible movement and lust, and it was like the whole idea of how the humans stare at nature.
Oh, so that's eyes slowly
There's
looking.
like she was saying that kind of like eyes are always slow to catch the essence of reality or the essence of nature or the essence of femininity.
So you pick up your influences from anywhere when you write.
Especially writers that I like.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, like for example, the first song was heavily influenced by Octavio Paz of Mexico. The second one was I was reading Illness as a Metaphor by Susan Sontag.
Oh, yes.
Entropy Tango, so like I always
The
borrow the ideas.
interpretation, or in English were you reading?
No, in English, but I borrowed the main concept, kind of like to have some theme that will pull me through, and
That's
then I
what-
just write the song.
That's what I was wondering, where your themes came from, or where your subject matter comes from, or how long does it take to write a song?
It really depends. Some songs come really quick, and some songs take a longer time to develop.
Do you get tired if it takes longer to do?
No. Kind of, it's very strange with songs. They have a life of their own. It's very particular. Like sometimes you want to change them, and you just cannot do it. They come out the way they are.
See,
It's very.
That's what a lot of writers say.
Uh-huh.
You start doing it and then it just takes off.
Yeah, it's better just kind of like to write them and kind of like let them be for a little while, and then after maybe you don't like them at first, but then after 2 or 3 months you go back to them and say, okay.
You know, it was
yeah, it's
okay to
fine.
begin
It's
with.
fine. I was just being too hard on myself. Or something.
So, Tijuana Bibles, is it with an S, Bibles?
Yeah, but Bibles, yeah.
Many Bibles.
Like many Bibles, exactly.
How long has your group been together?
Almost 2 years.
Do you think that there's a tension that keeps you together? I know that for a group to finally be successful, it's that time that they're together, and so many little intricacies come into it, and they want to break up, and one wants the lead, one wants this.
That's absolutely right. I mean, I've been like in many bands, and we always have
you
like
have?
personal problems. You deal with all that, just this the different psychologies that everybody has, like different approaches that everybody has to music, musical taste.
Who handles that all? Who keeps it even?
But with this, I mean, with this guys, it was like a miracle. Since the first rehearsal, we've never had a problem. We've had this incredible musical dialogue that I mean, our sessions are like jam sessions. We communicate. We let everybody talk and say what they have to say. That's what has kept us together.
So, when you actually do your rehearsal, do you rehearse for a particular place where you're going to play? Does that turn out to be different? Like if you're playing in one venue, do your songs change?
Not usually, but sometimes if we know that we're going to have that we're playing with other bands that are more groove oriented, more dance oriented.
Yeah, that's what I wondered.
Then we'll pick up our songs that are like more groove oriented.
You'll do more dance stuff.
Yeah, more dance stuff.
You won't do a change of pace.
But not usually. We always present ourselves uncut. We try to just do it our style. Yeah.
Where? What kind of venues do you play in?
We've played, I mean, just the local scene, you know, the LA local scene. Like we played the Troubadour, the Opium Den, the Joint, just all the bars.
Do you open for someone, or do you play? I mean, have you opened for?
We played with. We're talking about like Chicano groove musicians or rock and Spanish musicians, like Lisa Flores, Quetzal.
Oh yeah, right.
Viva Malpache. I mean, all those bands are becoming really important. Mike Watt. Banyan. I mean, we've played with a lot of bands there.
Are there a lot of bands like yours now in Los Angeles or across the country?
It's definitely a movement that is growing like day by day, definitely. In the whole south of the United States and also Chicago, there's a very strong Latin music, rock and Espanol movement.
It's basically a rock and Espanol movement. New York?
I don't know that much about New York. I know Chicago because the guys from Viva Malpache told me that they played there a lot.
That's interesting.
And Lisa Flores also has played there a lot.
That it's not just the states that are close to the border.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we're all over the place, and it's a demographic that it's growing. I mean, it's just going to be a lot more of Chicano and Latin art in the United States in the next 20 years.
We're going to be looking for you. Alex Flores, don't forget his name. We thank you for coming on today and being with us. Lots of good luck. And don't go away. We'll be back with actress Karen Kondazian. Thanks. Hi, I'm back. I'm Joan Quinn, and we're with Karen Kondazian, who has all the Hollywood hyphenates: author, producer, actor, and writer. Karen was born in Boston and raised in San Francisco. But at the tender age of 8 years old, she was chosen to be on Art Link Letters' Kids Say the Darndest Things. Karen went on to train at the San Francisco State, not the University of San Francisco, San Francisco State, the University of Vienna, and the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Arts. Karen did all that training, and now we want to know if it confused you. How did you know where to go when you finished?
Well, I was lucky. I became a member of the Actors Studio. So Lee Strasberg said to me, you know, you got to stop playing so many queens, which is what I was doing, you know, playing English. I had English training.
Well, the Actors Studio was it New York?
Both, yeah.
Oh, so did you go right to New York?
Yes, I did.
That's what I was wondering, if you had to decide to go to New York or come to Hollywood for films.
I went to New York, and there's a man named Michael Kokianis who did Zorba the Greek, you know, the film.
Excellent.
I did his Trojan Women, learned how to beat my breasts.
And was that was your first big thing in New York?
Yeah.
Well, wasn't that extraordinary to be able to move into something like that?
Oh, it was great. But, you know, I don't know. We all, I guess, when we're little kids, want to do film. And so you know, I love theater. That's my first love. But then I came to LA and started working in film, television.
Did you stand in New York very long?
Sort of in and out. New York is like an old lover to me that I can't get out of my system.
So you didn't just leave all your training and go to New York and stay and do theater and theater
I've gone
and
back
theater.
and forth, back and forth. And then there was a point in my life where I was not working, and I was dialogue coaching for Hervé Villachez, the little midget, you know, on Fantasy.
Yes.
I taught him to go, the plane. That was my fault.
You were a vocal coach?
Yes, I was his dialogue coach. So I got a lot of money, and Lee Strasberg said to me, listen, you should do Rose Tattoo, you know, Tennessee Williams Rose Tattoo. So I took the money from that, and I produced it and starred in it, not knowing what I was doing as a producer. And I was very lucky. We won the LA Drama Critics Circle Award, and Tennessee Williams happened to be in town. He saw it, and he loved it, and he gave me the rights to all his plays while he was alive. So then I produced and starred in Sweet Bird of Youth with Ed Harris.
That's what I was going to say. You
Yeah.
played some really heavy roles after that. Heavy duty. Virginia Woolf,
Yes,
Sweet Bird of Youth,
yes.
Orpheus Descending,
Just a couple years ago, yeah.
Hamlet, Richard II
Yeah.
with Richard Chamberlain. What
Yeah.
else? Night of the Iguana.
Yes, yes.
Well, those are like really tough, gutsy woman roles, just as Rose Tattoo.
Yeah. I don't like to play victims, you know.
You make other people victims.
That's it. That's it. That's it. So, in fact, next year I'm going to do Night of the Iguana with a wonderful actor named Ray Strickland
Excellent,
at
very
the
good.
Fountain Theater. Simon Levy is going to direct it. It's you know, those are the people that just won the best play of the year last year, Summer and Smoke. So
When I was on the California Arts Council, Simon Levy sat on some of our theater panels.
fabulous.
So, because he's really good and knows exactly what to do. Well, he's been working with you, so he does know what to
Wow.
do. When you, I want to go into Vieux Carré, which is a part of this Tennessee Williams thing, and Ray Strickland, etc. But tell me about the people that you worked with when you were, say, doing Virginia Woolf and Sweet Bird.
Well, Sweet Bird, again, as I said, it was a young Ed Harris who had not yet become a star. And in fact, it was the time in Los Angeles when nudity on the stage was like, particularly men. And there was this moment at the beginning of Sweet Bird. It was great. Ed has a great body. And he came out of a working shower on stage,
Really?
naked. And we used to always wait about 5 minutes, no, not that long, about a minute, while people got up and left. It was generally, I must say, men dragging women out.
They got up and left?
They left. Yeah, they weren't used to nudity then, you know?
What about working with Richard Chamberlain?
Oh, one of the great, sweet, dear human beings. In fact, I must say that Richard II was the first play he had done in Los Angeles. After doing Hamlet in England, he was nervous for the reactions of the Los Angeles critics. But you know what he did on opening night? It was so sweet. He came very early and got dressed. And we came to our dressing rooms, and there were flowers. He had put flowers for each of us. And then he knocked on each of our doors before the show and thanked us for being with him. You know, he's that kind of man.
Those are the kind of things
great-
that we don't ever hear
great
about.
person.
You know, like
I love
when you
him.
were working with certain people, we don't know what kind of interaction goes on.
Then there are the stories I can't tell.
Those are the ones we wanted to hear.
Oh, God. No.
Some are tough, huh?
Well, not only tough, but, you know, there was a time of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and, you know, a lot of the actors were involved in a lot of that, and it was tough to work with some of them, but, you know.
You obviously got through it. You did.
Not Ed, and then not Richard Chamberlain.
You did Vieux Carré already,
Yes.
didn't you, with Ray Strickland?
Yes, again, Williams, I asked him, and he gave me the West Coast premiere rights to it, to produce it. So again, Ray Strickland hadn't worked for a while, and I begged him, to play the role.
He plays Tennessee, actually,
he plays
doesn't he?
an old Tennessee.
No.
And he was so breathtaking. He won every award you could win. And he's, talk about a great gentleman, great person. I'm crazy about him.
Does it show when people come prepared? Besides being prepared, is there this interaction between you and the actor? If you don't have it, how do you get it?
Are you talking about...
Not with Ray, with other productions.
Are you talking about during the show?
Yes. On stage.
Oh, there have been actors that, we didn't get on.
What happened?
We hated each other.
What happened?
Well, it isn't that we hated each other as human beings. We hated each other's way of working.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
So you use it. And what's interesting is sometimes the best work comes from when two people are not too fond of each other, because there's such an emotional, passionate kind of hatred. You just use that in your work, and sometimes it's very exciting. It causes a lot of chemistry.
Does one want to be better than the other, or does one want to outshine the other person?
No, sometimes I think it's just a matter of not understanding the way people work. I mean, I'm a what they call a method actress. That doesn't mean that I'm difficult or a diva, I don't think.
But I'd like to be.
Yes, I want to be when I grow up. But and then there are actors who are what they call, they are rep actors, which are very fine actors. They work one way, very technically. And I don't love working with emotional actors who are improvisational.
Is that hard for you? To work with somebody who does it? I see.
But again, because I've been trained by the studio, you use it. You improv with that person.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they don't like to improv,
But that's part of your acting ability.
Yeah, yeah.
And maybe they couldn't do it because they weren't.
That's right. I got
brought up like
balled
that.
out for it,
They weren't brought up
and
that
that's
way.
not changing the author's words. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just doing different kinds of, not doing the same thing all the time,
Oh, but that must
giving
throw
them different things.
That must throw them off
Well,
if they're so used to being.
Yeah, that's right. But we're sitting here, you and I, talking. You don't know what I'm going to do next, and neither do I, with you. And that's the exciting part of it. And that's in acting. It should be the same way,
Well, you've been able to get all the acting jobs, and so you're able to tell people where to go because you've written this book, The Actor's Encyclopedia of Casting Directors.
Yes.
And I think it's very interesting the way it's written because there's a picture of each casting director.
It's the only book that's ever done that.
And to me, the idea of seeing a name and not knowing if it's a man, a woman, a young person, an old person, it just brings it all to light.
It's funny, an agent friend of mine was looking through this book and going, oh my God, for 3 years I've been talking to such and such person and never knew what they looked like.
That's why I thought it was so brilliant. I mean, was that planned?
Yes. I'll tell you why. Besides, I'm a journalist also, so these are a lot of the articles that I took from Backstage West, Dramalog, and Richard...
Different publications that you wrote for?
Yes, different all kinds. I interviewed them. Like Richard Dreyfuss is an old friend, and he was very kind and did the foreword on it. Mm-hmm. But I also did James Cameron is in here, who talks about acting, John Woo, as well as casting directors. And it's, to answer your question about photographs, I remember as a young actor going in and auditioning, being frightened to death, coming out and not even remembering what the person looked like.
Ah.
And I found out that a lot of this book is, I wrote this book for when I was 16 years old and wished I had it. It's to empower actors so that they can go in and audition without having to worry about the casting director.
Auditioning for what? Film? Stage?
This is
everything?
all in there. It's all in there. Stage, film, television, soaps, commercials.
Do you explain what's up? Well, I guess the casting director explains what a callback is, how to handle it.
each person in there, I asked different. If you read the whole book, you'll know all about the business, because I've asked, as many questions, I think, as there are actors to ask them.
So you can kind of really learn. Each person answers a different aspect of what a casting session is about.
And also, for instance, let's say you were going to go in, you're an actor, and you're going to go in and meet with the great Jane Jenkins and Janet Hershenson, who are incredible casting directors. And you've never met them. You read this and you see what they like, what they don't like, what they've done, who the human beings are, so that, again, you feel empowered when you walk in.
Do you have to be a newcomer
to
use this? Or?
This is a great, in fact, Milton Katselas wrote a little thing on the back of it. He's also in the book, the acting teacher, that it's a very good book for young actors because it shows you what you're getting into.
In that respect, but what if someone of your caliber who's been on the stage for a long time and knows, would you get something out of it?
Yes, I would, because for just what I said. The young actor's not going to probably go in for a lot of auditions yet. So he's going to learn from the book. Whereas the actor my age and younger, older, can use it as a tool when they go in for meetings.
One thing on the end of everybody's name is CSA. What does that mean?
Casting Society of America.
I see. Do they all have to belong to that?
No. It's a very extraordinary union, organization, association. And it's hard to get into it. You have to be voted in, you have to, it's, but I would say 3/4 of the people in this book are. But just because they aren't, doesn't mean that they aren't great casting directors. Some of them choose not to,
Oh, they choose, that's
they just
their
choose,
own thing. But you didn't discriminate against people who didn't belong to the
oh, no,
society?
Absolutely not. There were great casting directors who just, I remember I didn't want to be in a sorority when I was a girl.
Right.
So they don't want to be part of a association,
Well, our time has run out, but I think that the Actors Encyclopedia of Casting Directors is just great reading. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you.
And thanks for watching the Joan Quinn Profiles. Keep writing to us at 777 South Figueroa, 40th floor, Los Angeles 917. And we'll see you next time on the Joan Quinn Profiles.